It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of The Scoop. It's week 8, episode 4. Our moment that we've all been waiting for here is an episode that doesn't involve Doc. It's just your host, Chris, here today. But I brought in a friend here who's a little bit more flamboyant than Doc. It's our guest, Austin Paul.
What's up, everybody? It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a lot more fun this time around. I think a little bit more energy, a little bit more enthusiasm behind our picks here. Jumping right into it, I let our guest here pick who our babe of the week is.
And you all know that this is the babe of the year, Alexis Wren.
Everybody wants to give her the beans, right? All right, so we're just going to hop right into it. We'll get right into our weekly review.
In the battle of Sniffers Row versus Shroot Farms, DeAndre Hopkins, Dalvin Cook, and Sony Michel seem to be too much to overpower Sniffers to a 130-121 win. Potop, Colin Bottom, and Johnny absolutely obliterates Potop, Colin Bottom, largely behind Marvin Jones's 43 points. Minshew Vagic versus Recycling Bin. Ezekiel Elliott puts up a crucial 27 points, and Austin Hooper seems to get his weekly touchdown, putting him over the top 111-89. Galladay season versus Ty's Tent. This was an absolute bloodbath, 128-47. Ty, check your team, do something different next week. Team Tracks versus Touchdowns, another absolute blowout. Tracks behind Jimmy Graham, Jacoby Brissett, and Austin Eckler absolutely dismantled Touchdowns, 130-69. The Rick Rangers and Drogan's Daiquiris ends the overview with Dak Prescott 20 points and Darren Waller 31 points as he takes down Drogan's 124-96.
I love it, dude. I love it. Minshew Vagic. All right. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Much better than I expected, especially better than my host usually. Appreciate it. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so now we're going to get into a little bit of our NFL news for Week 8. There's a couple of big things here, so Austin, why don't you take the first one here?
Yeah, absolutely. We all know that Mohamed Sanu ended up getting traded to the Patriots this week. I believe it was for a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. It was either a second or third-round pick. Regardless, I think that Atlanta is in absolute destruction mode right now, so they're trying to get rid of players for any draft capital in the future. As far as for the Patriots' perspective, getting a wide receiver, because Josh Gordon just went to the IR, I think should play a pivotal factor. I guess I don't know. Nobody really knows as far as a fantasy perspective what he's going to be, but just an overall locker room guy, I think it was a good trade for the Patriots.
Yeah, I do too. The only thing I'm concerned about, too, there's two things that come to mind when I think about this trade here. So you brought up the Flash Gordon thing. He's only on a temporary IR thing. So, like, once he comes back from the IR, let's say he comes back, they're saying perhaps in the next week, they have to cut him. They can't keep him. So there's been talks here that gets into one of our other things that we'll just touch on here. Josh Gordon could be getting cut in the next week or so.
He very well could be.
I was hearing that the Raiders are actually interested in him, and I know that doesn't seem like a huge deal. Raiders are kind of bottom feeders, but they do need a wide receiver here. We'll get into that more later. Back to the Sanu deal here, though, is the only thing I have concerned with is that Sanu runs in a slot, and they already have a slot guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it's going to pan out. I don't know who's going to go where. They did it with AB, and it looked like it worked for at least 1 week. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Honestly, I feel like around the trade deadline every year Mohamed Sanu's name gets brought up, and the Patriots have always been in there, so I feel like they finally were able to get their guy. So with that,
it is nice to see that they actually went out and got somebody. And I mean, like, Sanu's talented. I mean, everybody kind of I think he's kind of overshadowed a lot. He's nothing, not a spectacular guy, but he is very good, and he is somebody that, could be a big part in them getting back to the Super Bowl for like the millionth time. Moving on, the next one is Emmanuel Sanders, my dude, the guy I'm big on, gets traded, hopefully to a better program out in San Francisco. The deal, Emmanuel Sanders in a 5th-round pick for a 3rd and 4th-round pick. I don't think it's a steal for either side, mainly because I feel like the Broncos just are going to fuck up a pick just like they have been. The middle-round picks haven't panned out.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about quarterbacks. Talk about all these other guys who we haven't seen much out of. I guess I would say it favors the 49ers just a little bit. I mean, I don't think that they pass the ball out. They're a very run-heavy offense, but I mean, Emmanuel Sanders needs a quarterback, and Jimmy G has never had a real wide receiver one, so it'd be nice. I know I was talking to Schrute earlier today about that. It could really blow up. So right now, I don't think there's any huge favorite. I think Emmanuel Sanders kind of stays the same.
I totally agree. I mean, in all honesty, not much to say about this deal. We know Sanders is going to a better team, so that's good for him. But as far as fantasy relevance and the passing game in San Francisco, it's kind of solidified as Jimmy G, very conservative, a lot of George Kittle. So maybe with the addition of Sanders can help that passing offense out. But overall, very run-heavy. Don't expect to see an uptick for him.
I can see a lot more targets. I can see more targets. I mean, over the first 3 games where Emmanuel Sanders really popped off, he was getting 6, 7, 8 targets a game, and they were crucial targets, just kind of like what they've been missing in San Francisco. And then over the last 3 weeks here, he's only had 10 targets. Right. I mean, he made money moves this last week for me. Thank you, appreciate it. Need another solid week out of you. But on the next one, Mahomes practicing now. He is out this week, so it's not that quick of a turnaround. Today. Yeah, it's not that quick of a turnaround. But what are your thoughts on what the Kansas City's doing here?
Honestly, my thoughts are they should be very cautious. However, with the Packers this week, which we already know that he's out, so it's not a big deal, but the Vikings the following week, those are 2 pretty tough defenses who are able to rush the quarterback at a pretty high clip. Mm-hmm. So safety is obviously the biggest issue for him. However, if those safety issues aren't a concern, absolutely throw him back out there. He gives you a great chance to win, and honestly, without him, we don't know what Matt Moore is going to do because we did see him last week, but that game was kind of over before it even started. The Broncos looked absolutely awful. So with 2 better teams on the horizon for them, yeah, exactly. So with 2 better teams on the horizon, we'll see how Matt Moore does, and I guess it's kind of a week-to-week thing right now.
Yeah, I think if that knee's stable, I don't think it's stable this week. I know that there was no tears or anything, but the pain level, I mean, any kind of joint pain means you're kind of limping on it and you're not really putting, everything on it. It means oftentimes the opposite leg is going to take a big weight on that. So it's a little scary. I wouldn't rush him back. Like I said, like you said, with the Vikings coming in, I know I talked a lot of crap, but Danielle Hunter is the big bright spot. He's getting to the quarterback every game. Yeah. I mean, other than that, though, we're not really getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But Danielle Hunter on that side, is perfect, and it is. I think it was his right knee, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
So I mean, that's your plant knee. So that's scary. And any kind of pressure or any kind of pain on that, you can't put as much pressure on and everything. That's a little scary. I'll take this next one, and I didn't even mean to line it up like this, but Melvin Gordon, baby. I'm a big believer in him. I know everybody's kind of dogging on him, but there's talks that he could get traded. And right now, I know Melvin Gordon's struggling, and the thing is that the coaches aren't giving him. They're not taking anything away from him right now. They're still going to give him out there and give him the touches and everything. But there's talk that he gets traded. If he gets traded to a team with an offensive line, this could be really scary for him. I mean, he could really blow up then. I mean, he has the last 3 years have been fine. This year, the O-line takes a big hit. He takes a big hit. He's coming off of 3 weeks absence, 4 weeks technically with him not playing that game. I mean, he looks bad, but if he goes to a team that has an offensive line, he can get kind of rolling again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, with being out the first couple of weeks of the year, the first 4 weeks, coming back to a much worse offensive line, his offensive production is going to go down. And on top of that, with Austin Eckler playing really well, but in all honesty, I do not see them trading him just because I don't think Austin Eckler can withstand a full workload on a week-to-week basis.
They like Justin Jackson, though.
They do, but I don't know. He looked okay in his touches that he got at the beginning of the year, but I just don't know if they're ready to kind of put all the weight on his shoulders, let's say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I heard a bunch of good things this week. I mean, he's still Melvin Gordon. The past couple of years aren't a fluke, in my opinion. However, he does play Chicago this week, so it'll be a really big test for him.
Murray kind of tore him up, though, and Melvin Gordon's a lot more elusive than him, but I don't know. I'm just thinking, this is his 5th year. His rookie year, he looked bad, but he's a rookie.
Yep.
And then the next 3 years, he tears the league up, and he's a top back, I don't know. I'd like to see him stay because I know how powerful that offense can be, but I'd also like to see him go. Not even just for my fantasy team, but just in general. It'd be nice to see that guy, kind of get going. But, I mean, you got to think, though, a guy who's getting like 2.5 a carry, Justin Jackson's doing a lot better than that. So is Eckler taking the ball. If they can get something valuable for him, I could see him making a move, but I don't know. It's been really highly touted. Hopefully something gets cleared up now. Moving to the next one here, we got AJ Green. Is he gonna play this year? Is he gonna be on the Bengals? Is he gonna get traded here? I mean, what are your thoughts on this guy?
From a football perspective, obviously, let's say I'm in Zach Taylor's position, the head coach. I would love him to play. Our offense right now has been brutal.
Yeah,
that's
being very modest.
Yeah, being very modest. They have been absolutely brutal. No run game, horrible offensive line. That's probably the worst part of their offense.
They pass block okay.
They pass block all right.
They can't run block for sure.
But if I'm Zach Taylor, still don't have a win in the NFL yet, I'm doing anything possible in order to get a win to save my own job. So personally, if I'm from a football perspective, I would want him to play. But if I'm AJ Green personally, I want nothing to do with that team, and I'm actively seeking a trade as soon as possible. So it's kind of split right now, depending on whose side you're on. But will he play? I think if he comes back and he's healthy, he will play, frankly, because I think the team will just want him to, not because he wants to.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard rumors that he's been healthy for weeks, and he just hasn't played. I don't know. Like you said, from Zach Taylor's standpoint, I think they know that they have to have a long leash with him and that this team isn't ready to win right now. I could see them being okay with kind of giving Taylor 2-3 more years. There's talk that Andy Dalton's not coming back. They're not keeping him, which is fine. AJ Green's on his last year. I mean, what if AJ Green decides to walk? So what's the point of keeping a guy, one, who may not want to be there? He's 31, coming off an injury. Your team's dog shit. I think they should just trade him just to get some value.
I agree in that aspect in trading him, because trade him while you can, basically.
I mean, there's been rumors that he's been offered for a first-round pick for a guy who hasn't even played this year, and you don't even know if he's got it. I mean, they say he looks fantastic in individual drills and in small doses of practicing.
And with the team, the way your team is playing right now, you try to have to get anything
to get a first-round pick. You could get a quarterback,
especially with a very high percentage that he walks at the end of the year once his contract is over. So, I mean, get something while you can. It's worth it. Even though he's AJ Green, he's very capable. He is getting older. He has had a very long injury history in the NFL. So it's just something, in my opinion, that you would have to do.
Yeah, I would agree here. So moving on to the next one, the guy who you did have on your roster for about maybe a week, and you moved him, carry on. He's now hitting the IRs. He's out until at least week 16, probably the year, honestly, especially if the Lions keep going at this rate. They've been in some games, but they look like they might miss the playoffs this year. Thoughts on carry on, and what moves do you think that they maybe make over there in Detroit?
Yeah, with the Lions sort of looking like they're on the decline right now, and sure enough, carry on also gets hurt on IR. I personally don't think carry on definitely has gotten the majority of the touches in that offense, but in all honesty, he hasn't done a ton with them. So with carry on being out, obviously look to a guy like Ty Johnson. I know Matt Patricia does enjoy having his bigger backs on his team, so I know maybe a Legarian Blunt type. I know Jay Ajayi maybe. So look for somebody like that. Even bring back C.J. Anderson. But as far as the Lions, it does hurt that offense, frankly, because obviously you give that many touches to somebody and they're just gone. That is going to hurt. But do I believe that they can make up those touches with something decent? I do.
Yeah. I don't mind Ty Johnson. They also have J.D. McKissick, who was there with their offensive coordinator before out in Seattle, which is kind of a nice little touch. But I don't know, man. There's, like we talked about Melvin Gordon's on the trading block. We talked about, we'll talk about it in a little bit here. We'll just touch on it now. Kenyon Drake, we know he's nothing special, but he could be solid. They want to move him, and he's losing touches out in Miami. I mean, maybe he gets moved there. I mean, it's tough to say. As for bringing in a free agent, I think at this point in the year, it's really hard to bring in somebody who's going to get a workload. C.J. Anderson might be the best one, but they already had him, and they cut him for a reason.
They did, yeah.
I mean, I know that they thought they had carry on for the year, but they did cut C.J. Anderson for a reason. There's no, why would you keep J.D. McKissick if you didn't believe in McKissick at some point in the year?
Oh, absolutely. And I think in that first game back, or without carry on, I should say, last week, they gave the ball to McKissick a decent amount on some jet sweeps, on just some gadget-type plays like that. So they do have faith in him. They do like him on the team.
I do agree, though. I mean, they are going to have to bring somebody in. I mean, unless if they can, they promote Paul Perkins from, my dude, my guy. Unless they promote Paul Perkins from the practice squad, which they could. I mean, Paul Perkins is a capable runner to be, second, third, maybe fourth on the, the depth chart. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think that's a big deal. We talk about Josh Gordon now. The biggest thing that I think about this is that Josh Gordon thought he was coming back soon.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic here. Josh Gordon thought he was coming back. He posted, when he heard about that he was getting put on the IR, he questioned it. He wasn't sure. I mean, like we already touched on this a little bit. We'll move on right away here. I mean, that's just an interesting topic here. Ryan Tannehill, QB1 going into this week again for Tennessee.
Yeah.
What do you think that does for the offense? Because I think honestly, it changes things up.
Yeah, honestly, from what I saw last week with Tannehill, he did a great job spreading the ball around between Corey Davis, Humphries, and A.J. Brown. High completion percentage, yeah. He each gave the ball around, which you really enjoy seeing. I mean, there's nothing that he did in last week's game in order to demote him to this week. So, I mean, overall, they did win. Yeah. And, I mean, overall, he did nothing wrong. So, I think you have to keep throwing him out there just based on the fact of what you've seen out of Mariota this year. You don't really have a choice.
Oh, my God. Mariota is buns. I think that guy could be something, but I don't know what they've done because I haven't seen any progression from year to year outside of a couple, highs in the game. I like Tannehill. I've been a big supporter of Tannehill. I don't think he's anything amazing. I do think he's a starting caliber quarterback. I think he can lead this team and have them win more games than they would with Mariota. The biggest thing that I see, though, is that they made, people relevant in that offense again. So Deion Lewis, who was not getting those checkdowns, could be more relevant. I know Tennessee's, they're saying that they're in the buyer's market, so that touches on the Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, maybe potential, or C.J. Anderson even, actually. Yeah. They're talking about those guys. Maybe they're in the buyer's market now, but Tannehill being a true quarterback who can scramble too. He scrambled a couple times last week. Being a guy who actually knows how to throw the ball and throws the ball pretty well, it made guys like Corey Davis and A.J. Brown relevant again. I know Delaney Walker falls off because he's not the safety valve like he was for Mariota, but I don't know. I like what it's doing for that offense. I don't know if it'll translate to many more wins, maybe one or two more, but that's all you really need for a team that was on the cusp of a playoff last year.
In all honesty, every year we look to the end of the year, we see the Titans in as a 6th seed in the playoffs. They're around 9 wins, potentially 10 wins every year. I mean, looking at the roster, they're pretty talented outside of that quarterback position where Mariota has seemed to play. But on the defensive side, they have Byard. They have a bunch of good players on that defense. Mm-hmm. And on offense, I mean, I know they're young, but Corey Davis, who has seemed like a bust, but largely part of Mariota.
Doesn't get the ball.
Yeah. And now they have A.J. Brown as well, another very, very talented receiver. I mean, they have the weapons and they're capable of doing it. So if Tannehill can keep progressively getting better, obviously he has a floor, or he has a ceiling.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I
think we've seen it.
Yeah. But with that being said, I mean, if he can play capable close to that ceiling, I think they're a playoff team or close to it, and especially in that division.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at that team, like you said, you got guys that you just love. You got the slot guy in Adam Humphries.
Yeah.
You got a big play guy in A.J. Brown, and you've got just an overall, super talented guy that we haven't seen much out of in Corey Davis. And then you've got a power back, and you've got a receiving back. I know that's sometimes doesn't work in your favor because when Henry's in, you're going to run, and when Lewis is in, you're going to pass.
But overall, that offense as a whole, they have a bunch of decent weapons on their team.
That whole team, the biggest thing holding them back was quarterback play, and it's because Mariota's not a true quarterback, and with Tannehill being able to throw the ball more, I think it'll work well. This moves perfectly into our next topic. Somebody's playing really well, even including last night, even though he didn't throw a touchdown. Kirk Cousins is fucking hot, man. Hey, 4 games, he's 10 touchdowns, 1 pick, because he didn't throw a pick last night, didn't throw a touchdown, so that doesn't change. That was his first game in the last 4, not over 300 yards. I mean, high percentage. I think he had 4 incompletions last night. Kirk Cousins looks great. You can't tell me that he's not playing good teams either, because we just beat the Eagles, who was a good team. A good team. And, I mean, the Redskins, obviously, absolute fucking buns. But, I don't know. The defenses we've been facing haven't been amazing, but he's on a roll, and it looks good. I mean, we were down Thielen last night, and Diggs looked great until that fumble, which is very early in the game, and I fucking hate him for that. Leading the league in fumbles.
He is?
For wide receivers, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I believe it's 4, correct?
Yeah, 4. Leading the league for wide receivers, and I'll tell you what, you didn't start getting the ball until 2 weeks ago. How do you lead the league when you barely get the ball? But, I mean, what do you think? Is this sustainable with Kirk? I mean, maybe the 300 and
the true
touchdowns.
The true tests are going to come. Obviously, we play Kansas City next week, which their defense is not the best, but big game for him. So we can see on the road. We can see what he does in that, followed by a Sunday night game in Dallas. Yeah. So regardless of those two defenses, obviously Dallas has a much better defense than Kansas City. Those are both very big games. One is a noon game, I believe, and then going to Sunday night in Dallas. Regardless, both on the road against both good teams. So what he's done in these past 4 games has looked very good, and honestly, I think it's his best 4-game stretch as a Minnesota Viking. We'll see.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to be like, oh, he's playing against bad teams, he's doing well. But that's what you want. You want them to play good versus those bad teams. Now, if you were to have 2 bad games versus bad defenses, then you'd be that's more telling than I think it is a struggle versus a good defense.
I agree.
Like, if you struggle versus a bad defense, that looks worse than it does if you struggle versus a good defense, which makes complete sense, but people don't want to talk like that.
And listen, I mean, I totally get it. Last night against the Redskins, it was a very boring game. A lot of field goals. We looked very good on offense, but we couldn't score touchdowns. Had to settle for a lot of field goals, which really sucked. I mean, we should be able to pound it in against that Redskins defense. But besides the fact, I mean, I feel like the Vikings coaching staff came into that game knowing we were going to win. We were going to
play not to lose.
Exactly. We played not to lose, and that's exactly what we did. And we get the job done, so I get it from a team perspective of Mike Zimmer, who's a very conservative guy by nature regardless. So I don't really want to look too far into last game, frankly, just because I knew we kind of had the win in the bag before the game even started, and we just played not to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it helped out a lot, too. We only won by 10, but Keenum coming out, and he was not playing bad. He was 12-16, and he had, 200 yards maybe? I mean, he looked all right, but, I mean, outside the fumble, he looked fine. Moving on, a couple of injuries here. We're just going to kind of breeze through them here. Kamara's banged up. We don't know what's going to happen there. We talked about, earlier, touching on the Melvin Gordon playing the Bears perhaps this week if he doesn't get traded. Lat Murray looked good last week. He did. And, I mean, if Kamara's banged up, what's the point? You're 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater. Lat looked great last night. You won last week. You won a big game. I mean, what's the point of pulling, rushing Kamara, rushing Breeze back into it when you're winning games without them? And then, with David Johnson's not seeing the field. Honestly, I think he's going to be held out, or at least to a limited capacity.
I mean, me personally, this is the same situation as Kamara. I believe Chase Edmonds is a better player than Latavius Murray, but it's in the situation where he's looked really good. If he's banged up, there's really no point in bringing him back, especially as far as Chase Edmonds goes. I mean, he looked absolutely great last week, but a little touch up on Kamara. I mean, we all know he's amazing. We all know he's a lot better than Latavius Murray. But if they're winning and Latavius Murray gets to run against that Chicago Bears defense at a pretty high clip, I mean, yeah, just hold him out. There's really no point. You're both playing well right now, so why risk it?
Yeah, and the Hog touched on this on Wednesday. Some guys look better the more they touch the ball, and some guys look worse. Kamara has been one of those guys who doesn't look as good when you touch the ball 25 times.
Yep.
And in the reverse, the guy behind him looks better the more he touches the ball. Lat looks better the more he touches it, and Kamara looks better at the 10 to 15 touch mark.
Yep.
I don't know. And then with the DJ thing, I mean, he's still going to be a franchise guy. They're not going to get rid of him in the offseason. They already have him on a big contract now. They're going to try to keep him, have him grow with Kyler. Don't rush it. Don't ruin it. Chase Edmonds can't be your franchise guy. DJ can. Next, going on, Tyrell Williams. Is he still out? I think he's doubtful for this week. He's dealing with that plantar fasciitis that the Hawks said. He's been out for a while. They've been searching for a guy. I know last week on the pod I said that I would boom Zay Jones if he played. He did not play. I like the pickup of Zay Jones. I do think he has a lot of talent. He is one of those guys, those mediocre guys that I do like. But he's showed a little bit. In Buffalo, he got traded out there hopefully this week. I know we talked about maybe Josh Gordon going there. I know they have a couple young guys that aren't, Keelan Doss and stuff, who aren't really don't really have the magic. I mean, what do you think about these guys? I mean, do you think that any of these guys have any chance to shine this year?
Raiders receivers in general as a whole, I honestly don't have a lot to say about them. I think Darrell Waller is always and will be the main focal point in that passing offense. Everybody else, week to week, can play well, especially with Tyrell being out, which means they're even more thin at the position. But, I mean, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow, I believe Aitman, they're all just kind of fill-in guys for the time being. They have potential to do more, but as of right now, no, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, what a change, what a shakeup from the beginning of the year, coming in with AB and Tyrell, who would be a great two. I mean, he shows he could be a great two. Young quarterback, well, I don't know if he's really considered young anymore, Derek Carr, but young running back, it would have been nice to see.
What I do like seeing out of the Raiders, though, is Tyrell last couple of years, just mainly a deep threat in San Diego, and now he has a bigger share in that offense. I really like being able to be used more on shorter passes and in the red zone and whatnot, and I think he played very well up until his injury. So, I mean, if he can get back, I think they'll be much better with him and Waller kind of as the two-headed monster, but as of right now, I just don't see a lot other than Waller on that offense.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it helped out going into the league, or going into the year with just Tyrell. Tyrell was the guy who was getting the touchdowns, and Waller was the guy getting them down the field, and Jacobs too, so that was nice. All right, so we're moving into, that was your news. We went a little longer. It is the trade deadline week. I mean, I know it ends next Tuesday, but this is where all the real nuts and bolts kind of come out here. So moving into the listener league here. So this is usually Doc's segment, but I'll take over here. We did not get our picks in this week. Shout out Khan holds us up. He did not text in yet, so that kind of sucks. But this week's pool was Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Chubb, Carson, Fournette, and Connor. We already have our first picks in, but we'll leave that for next week. We'll talk about it in the overview. The standings here so far this year is Mike, who is just carried by a big game by Aaron Rodgers, is 30 points ahead of the next guy, 25. At 61.7, Aaron Primer at 37.1, Downer at 33.2. My guest here today, 25.8, Poe. The Ghost, or the Scoop here. We have our picks are in now. Actually, this came in as I'm doing this. The Scoop here, so the Ghost, the guy who gets last pick, here at 24.6. CJ, who just got his pick in now, at 19.6. And Ben with a absolute sorry, dog shit, bad luck, Cooper Kupp, Matt Ryan combination, back-to-back bad weeks, 8.3. So, we actually have our picks in. You want to make sure Mike has his pick in? Give Mike a shout out here. So far, we have all but one pick. We'll go through it. First pick was Kamara by Ben. Kind of no surprise there, I guess I would say. I figured Ben would take Kamara or CMC. Second pick with Downs. That kind of gave me a little bit of a take back. He took Saquon over CMC. I like it. I like Barkley better than CMC overall as a whole, but CMC is everything to that team this year. Would have been a little bit of a shake-up to me. We got Primer took CMC third, and then fourth just came in now with Fournette. Fifth would go to my Connor came in, yeah.
I'm saying I take Connor.
Oh, you can speak. This is okay.
Oh, I thought you were going
and then Poe, my co-host here, took Connor, so we're missing one pick here. That kid is going to be picking between Nick Chubb and Chris Carson. Either way, I think the host here, the ghost here, is going to be doing okay. I think with Chubb or Carson, I think those are my two. I think we'll probably end up with Chubb here because he is playing New England.
Probably end up with Chubb just because he's playing New England, and that's solely
and
it.
Carson's playing Atlanta, so we're definitely stuck with Chubb. The run defense over in New England has been super good, but Chubb has been the only thing that's been really working for him there. So hopefully, let's just say hopefully that I need that picture pulls up. Hopefully Chubb shows up for the squad here. Next, we're gonna be moving into the boom bust from last week. So we'll start with Doc because he's not here, so we can talk some major shit about him. So we'll start with what he called, right? He busted Devonta Freeman. I mean, I don't think that was really a hard pick.
No, I don't know at all.
He busted Carrion. He got lucky because Carrion got hurt.
Still a bust.
He busted McLaurin. I mean, it was a tsunami out there.
Yeah, you
Like,
can't.
let's be honest. They're playing one of the best defenses. Doc, I'm talking a lot of trash here. I think you're picking easy picks here. He busted Keenan Allen as well, which was kind of a risky one, but
Keenan Allen, the most risky out of them all, but Keenan Allen has honestly been playing very bad as of late, so
yeah.
a good player's still playing bad regardless.
Here's another thing. He said he missed, but I think he got it right. Maybe it was to the extent that he boomed him, but he boomed John Brown. John Brown played pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a pretty good week. It wasn't anything special, but he supposedly missed him. This is his notes, not mine. He boomed Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks did not really do anything, so that was a bad one.
Cooks couple catches, probably 30 yards.
Yeah.
Not good.
Nothing you really want here. He boomed Tevin Coleman. I mean, that was a bad game all around for both offenses. And he busted our guy that we got stuck with last week on the pod in Lamar Jackson and my number one quarterback, number two, I think, actually. So that was kind of a bad call here. Oh, pardon me. All right, so now moving into my picks from last week since we did not have a guest. I busted Joe Mixon. That's a pretty easy one. I boomed Dalvin Cook, and I was talking about how he was going to fuck him up. The guy to my right here has Dalvin Cook. Tell me about how you feel about that.
Dalvin, I'd say pound for pound right now. I know I got him for about $45-ish.
45 to 50.
45 to 50. I think, personally, I know I was listening to the Hawk on Wednesday. I think he is the MVP so far in the fantasy football season.
Yeah, but, like, what we're saying, though, like, I guess I can understand where they maybe didn't pick them was because, like, they were talking about guys
I totally do get it, because they were talking about
like,
$1 guys.
You're talking about guys who are bought low, who have been performing high. And I would agree that he is definitely the MVP for, if you can make a comeback this year and come around to the top here,
the MVP of my team.
Yeah, you would definitely
for sure.
be MVP.
But MVP overall yet to be determined.
Yeah, and the next thing that I busted David Johnson. I know I told you to play Chase Edmonds. I've been saying that. I busted him. You can go back and listen to the scoop. I called the bust by DJ. I said under 10 points. I know that wasn't super big, but I did bust him. And I don't know if I said it on the pod, but I was saying if DJ's not completely healthy, I would have played Edmonds.
And he ended with below 1 point.
0.2. Below a half point.
Below a half.
But I don't know if I said on the pod, which I wish I would have. I did say that I would have played Chase Edmonds if DJ wasn't fully healthy. But we were kind of told he was fully healthy, so who knows. Here's where I did like my reverse psychology because it worked the week before. I busted Marvin Jones because I was saying, no, because last week the week before I boomed the guy across the field. I don't remember who it was. I boomed somebody hoping that my guy would bust, or my guy would boom instead of them. So I was like kind of backwards mentality. So I busted Marvin Jones and he fucking popped off.
And he scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 44 points for me. So
you'll take a wrong take in a fantasy win all day long.
As long as I'm right there. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I busted T.Y. Hilton. That was kind of a bad call. I just didn't think they were going to pass very well. But Brissett's been looking great. I love Brissett. He's been looking great all year. I just really didn't think they were going to pass a lot in that game. But they did. It was awesome. I boomed Carlos Hyde. He looked like he was going to be poised for it, and then he just kind of didn't produce. That sucks. I boomed Zay Jones, like I said earlier, but that was contingent if he played, and he didn't play. I did boom David Montgomery. So, like I said, I was either going to be right on the pod or wrong. And I wish I was playing Doc last week because David Montgomery looked atrocious. Hopefully he looks shitty again this week. And I boomed Evan Engram. That kind of sucks. I mean, you got to pick him when he's the number one, at the time before he got injured, number 2 tight end in football. Number 1, perhaps actually at the time, over Hooper. 1 or 2 doesn't matter. Playing against the team that left up the most of the tight ends, you gotta boom that guy. So that kind of sucked. But this week we'll see how we do here. We don't have Doc to match up with, so maybe it'll be a little bit better, more better picks here.
Acing every one of my picks. Let's
be honest. You can't do much worse than Doc. Doc had some back-to-back shitty weeks here.
Can't go lower than the ground. Yeah,
so now we're gonna get into our NFL matchups here. So we'll talk about last night's game. We already touched on it a little bit here, but we'll get into a little bit more in depth here. We'll both talk about this one. It's the hometown Vikings versus the Redskins. I was in the cities during the time I was at a concert last night. Like, awesome atmosphere in the cities. I mean, we moved to 6-2, 19-9 win over the Redskins. Redskins, looked kind of lost. they looked like they actually had a decent game going versus us until Keenum got hurt. And then when Haskins, thick boy, comes in, he looked bad. I mean, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, not a lot to say. I said overall a pretty boring game. We just played not to lose. Our offense basically consisted of Cook and Stephon Diggs for about every one of our offensive yards until Madison kind of got some run at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Which he also looked very good. Not really a factor going forward.
He played well though, because I played
but he's a very capable runner.
I played Madison in kind of a deeper league, and I had to because my bench is just fucked up right now in that league. But I had to play him, and I got like 7.5 points out of him in a league where you're playing. It's St. Andrews League. We have 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex. I was like, oh shit, I need to play him, and he got me 7.5 points. I mean, that's gonna be that for my last flex guy. That's gonna be pretty good here. So we'll move in. First game of the week, we're going to give it to our guest here, Seattle versus Atlanta.
Yeah, so Seattle versus Atlanta. We all know Atlanta over the past, they have their one win against the Eagles on Sunday night where they looked pretty good, but we now know that the Eagles aren't as good of a team as we thought they were maybe at the beginning of the year. Other than that, they have been absolutely atrocious. Seattle coming in, we all know Seattle, one of the top teams in the NFC right now. Atlanta, one win at the very bottom. Atlanta is at home here. But honestly, I just see Seattle running all over that defense. A little bit of DK Metcalf, maybe a little bit of Tyler Lockett, but overall a big Chris Carson game, and I have the Seattle Seahawks winning.
Yeah, so give us your boom bust.
So boom bust, I don't know if we need like under the radar guys or it can be anybody. Yeah. Like I said, I predict a big Chris Carson game. I'm going to go 145 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, fuck him up.
Bust of the week, I actually have is Julio Jones. Matt Ryan not playing, so obviously I think that's going to hinder him. He could play. Regardless, I don't see Julio having the best game because I'm banking on Matt Ryan not playing.
Me too.
So with that being said, I mean, I see Julio having a pretty pedestrian. I'll say 4 catches for 40 yards. I know that's not a complete bust, but for him, I really think it is.
I prefaced that I did a CMC bust at 20 points.
Yeah.
So trust me, an 8-point bust is not a bad pick here. Next game I got here is Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. This game, I mean, honestly, it's gonna be close for one half. I think Arizona comes out. I mean, they're 3-1. I know they have 3 wins versus some dog shit teams, and they probably shouldn't have been in that game versus the tie with the Detroit Lions here. But I think like that offense is gonna figure it out. I think with Edmonds playing well or DJ, either way, I mean whoever's in, they're gonna play well. Hopefully Kirk gets back on the field, gets that passing offense going again. I know they miss him out there. They don't have as much velocity, I guess, as they would when their only receiver out there is 49,000-year-old Larry Fitzgerald. New Orleans here, I'm hoping it's Teddy playing, mainly because I might pick him up this week. I need a quarterback. But I'm hoping it's Teddy playing because I don't want to see Drew Brees go out there and then not play, the rest of the year. Hopefully he doesn't get re-injured or something. But I think New Orleans has got too much here. I think they win probably like 27-24, 21 actually. I'll say 21. Just because I do think, New Orleans defense is going to figure it out and stuff. I think they're going to be at a little bit of test with Kyler moving around. I will say my boom is going to be Kyler Murray. I think he's going to run the ball more. I think he's going to have to versus that defensive line. I think he's going to get out of the pocket, for safety, and then play breaks down. My bust is going to be Kamara if he plays. If he doesn't play, I'm going to bust. Probably going to have to bust. Fuck, it's really hard to bust anybody. Probably going to have to bust Larry, I guess. Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, he's been consistently scoring like 12 points. I don't think he gets that this week. I think Lattimore shuts him down pretty well here. Moving to the next matchup here. Los Angeles Chargers versus Chicago Bears in Chicago. What do you got?
Yeah, so right now these are 2 teams that are going in the opposite direction of where they want to be. Chargers at 2-5, Bears at 3-3. Both teams have looked pretty atrocious the past few weeks, to put it lightly. Bears are at home, which counts for a lot. But overall, I mean, this is a big gut check game for both of these teams. Both need a win in the worst way. Both have looked pretty poorly, like I said, the past couple of weeks. I think just based on the fact of the Bears at home, I kind of have to go with them, and the fact that the Chargers just always seem to find a way to lose week by week. It's a heartbreaking loss. Different heartbreaking loss every week, but a loss at that. I'm going to go with, in a low-scoring game, Bears 16, Chargers 13. For my boom and bust of the week, is it possible to not have a boom of the week? Because I frankly don't like any of these players. I like Austin Eckler just based on the fact that I think he's about to have 8 catches for 95 yards.
That's a big boom.
And
we're not having one.
I got to pick somebody. 8 for 95 and a touchdown. Overall, my bust is going to be, I know it's a pretty easy bust, but I like David Montgomery to bust again. I think he has a total of 25 yards in one catch.
I need it like that. Playing Doc this week, that's why he's not here. He's in a fucking casket somewhere. I fucking killed him.
In a body bag.
You put him in a body bag. This next one is kind of a really kind of shitty game. I got the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know the Jags are only 3-4. They're looking okay. They have a chance to kind of push things out here. I'm going to go kind of against it, though. I think the Jets bounce back kind of in a major way. I think they actually have a pretty solid fucking game here. I'm picking the Jets here probably somewhere in the lines of like 27 to like 17. I think that the Jets offense kind of figured out. I know Darnold was kind of, out there seeing ghosts versus New England. But I think that the offense is just, once they get clicking, they're going to be so good. I think like Le'Veon Bell, he's like, right now he's ranked running back 17. He hasn't had that great of a week. I know he hasn't had his quarterback. I think he gets some more dump offs. I think that offense gets going. I think we see a little bit more Robbie Anderson, maybe some Demaryius Thomas, my dude. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we see him going. Maybe we see a little Herndon for your sake.
I'm banking on it.
I don't think he's going to play, but
fingers crossed.
Let me know if you need Everett. But on the Jags side, I don't hate anything over there really. Like I like Minshew. He's an average guy, man. He's like my captain of my team pretty much. But Fournette, he's looked really good this year. He's getting a high volume, high touches. Even in the passing game, he's getting the ball. The only thing I don't like about Jacksonville right now is those wide receivers. I know Chark's playing well, but I think it's because he has to for them to even move the ball. I don't think he's super talented right now. I think he's developing still. I do pick the Jets. Like I said, my boom is going to be actually none other than Lev Bell, baby. I want to see him pop off. And my bust is going to be... I'm going to bust Chark. He's a top 5 wide receiver right now, and I don't think he does it again. The only thing that scares me, though, is that Jamal Adams might not play this week.
Yeah, that might be tough.
And they might be trading Leonard, so I don't know. This could really change by the time the game time comes around. Moving to the next pick, we'll both pick on this one since it is a conference game here versus the Detroit Lions. It's the Giants at Detroit. Why don't you start with this one?
Yeah, so once again, Giants, Detroit Lions, both two teams that have been kind of treading water lately, a couple of losses as of late. Detroit put up 30 points against the Vikings last week, so their offense really isn't the issue in my eyes. It's that defense. Can they control? Can they maintain under 20 points maybe against this Giants offense? In all honesty, outside of Daniel Jones' first game, he's looked very bad. He's looked very poor. The Detroit Lions are going to win this game by well over 10 points. I'm going to go 28-10. Boom of the week is going to be Kenny Golladay. He had a very bad week last week against the Vikings. I think he bounces back in a big way. 8 for 135 and a touchdown. And as far as this Giants offense goes, I just don't see them really doing a whole lot of anything against this Lions. And with that being said, I'm going to have to go with Saquon Barkley for my bust. Still going to put up around 75 yards and maybe a catch or two, but I don't see him finding the end zone this week.
Yikes. I'm actually not going to touch on this game because I forgot that the Packers play in prime time. So we're going to touch. We'll both do that one instead, but I would have never busted Barkley. I think Barkley's bust proof. So other than when he got injured at halftime. So
coming from the person who said CMC was gonna bust last week,
I busted him at 20. That was 2 weeks ago, and I busted him at 20 points. And guess what? I was fucking right. So that was my week where I literally had one bad pick, Anyways, moving into my next pick here. Tampa Bay at Tennessee. Now, this is a game that I'm actually super interested in, mainly because we got a good defense who, is just kind of clicking, actually, versus an offense that can really fuck you up. And then we got a defense who's pretty solid, I guess, versus the pass, versus a team that's just figuring it out. I think it's going to be an interesting game here. I actually don't think it's going to be super high scoring just because I think Tennessee plays slow and on offense, and I think the Tennessee defense slows down that Tampa Bay team. I am going to pick this game to be something like 23-17 in favor of the Bucs, actually. I don't think Tannehill's going to get, going that crazy. I think my bust this week is going to be Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry gets a lot of yards, maybe like 65 right away, but I think once they get down, he gets game scripted out. No touchdowns, maybe one catch. And then I think my boom of the week is actually going to be your boy Mike Evans. I think with, how the matchups are going to go, you got to put the one on Godwin right now.
I think so too.
I think at that point, Godwin's just been consistently doing it. I think you got to try to make Evans be consistent and do it. I know it's stupid saying that you need to make Mike Evans play well. I think this week that's what they're going to try to do. Put an extra safety over top. I don't know what's going to happen. It'll be a weird one, but I do think Tampa Bay takes it, like I said, busting Derrick Henry, booming Mike Evans, which means I think Jameis Winston has a good week. I think he has a couple turnovers.
You never know with him.
I think really a good week for him is like a lot of yards, like 4 touchdowns and still 2 picks, which sucks. Like it's still you're still throwing 2 picks. Yep. But the next game is Battle of the East here. We got Philadelphia going over to the Buffalo Bills territory here. So what do you got?
Honestly, this game intrigues me. I know the Eagles have been playing very poor, but it's only a matter of time before they turn around. I mean, Carson Wentz, that Eagles offense, that Eagles defense, I know their secondary is bad, but I think overall they're too good of a team to just play this way the entire year. And honestly, I know Buffalo's at home. I know they're 5-1, but I feel like this team finds a way to keep the games close unless, you're playing just a pathetic team like a Miami. But this team likes to win ugly. I do believe they scrape out a win this week. The fact that they're at home, the fact that Eagles haven't found their way yet. I'm going to go Buffalo 21, Eagles 17. For my boom of the week, however, I'm going to go with Alshon Jeffrey. Ooh. I think he has double-digit catches in this game just because Wentz is finally going to be like, look, I know we've been playing bad. I'm going to rely on my guys. I think Ertz has a big week, but I'm going to go Jeffrey 10 for 110 and a touchdown. On my bust side of the week, I am going to go with... Let's see here. I don't know. Let's go with Josh Allen. I know he's my guy. I know that secondary's beat up on Philadelphia, but like I said, I feel like he turns the ball over way too much for my liking. I know his fantasy relevance is still there, but I think he has a pretty bad game. I'm going to go 2 interceptions, just barely eclipsing 200 yards.
Yeah, this also brings up one thing I kind of forgot to talk about earlier. Is one of the main trade destination for Melvin Gordon is Buffalo. Mm-hmm. If he fucking goes there, that offensive line's pretty solid.
I agree.
If he goes there, I think he'll be all right. I think that'd help that team out a hell of a lot too. At 5-1, they can take the division. I know you're in the division with the Patriots. Your only loss is to the Patriots, and you almost beat them. I mean, if you weren't running with Frank Gore, you might have a chance in that game.
I don't know.
But moving on to the next one here, we got Denver at Indianapolis. Now this used to be like a premier game a couple years back. When he had Manning versus Luck. Both those guys are deceased now. We got the new Sanders-less Broncos here. They're just losing firepower versus the Colts, who are, they're just gaining ground here. I'm picking the Colts heavy in this one. I'm going 35-14. I think Sutton gets a touchdown here. I think he'll look nice. He'll look good in his debut as a solo dolo guy. I don't like who they're gonna put across from Deshaun Jackson, or Deshaun Hamilton. Deshaun Jackson.
Hamilton, yeah.
Deshaun Hamilton, fuck. I mean, I don't like that there. I think the Colts, hopefully they go anywhere but T.Y. for my sake in fantasy this week. My boom of the week is going to be Marlon Mack because I think they're going to be up big. They're going to run the ball a shit ton. My bust is going to be Philip Lindsay. I'm sorry. I think they're going to have to power run versus the Colts here. The Colts are just a pretty solid team all around. They're going to have to go hard here. Moving to the next pick here is Cincinnati at Los Angeles. This is an awesome game here for you, Poe. Why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, overall this game stinks. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a rout. It's going to be an absolute beatdown. Rams are going to take this game 38-7.
Oh, fuck.
My boom of the week is actually going to be Brandon Cooks. I don't know a whole lot about the Bengals secondary, to be honest, but I think that Cooks is going to have a really big day, take the top off the defense. He's going to get 6 catches for $155 and 2 scores. So I think he has a really big game. Bust of the week. We say this week after week, and he continues to be bad. It's Joe Mixon. Last week he had 11 carries for 2 yards. I don't think he does that bad. I'm expecting him to get somewhere around 10 to 15 touches, but with that, he's going to have about 35 to 40 yards and no scores.
Surprisingly, for how bad the Cincinnati D has been, they're like number 12 versus the pass.
Are
so
they?
Like they're solid, but they could be kind of taken off. I don't know if Kirkpatrick's back or anything. They have their secondary's kind of banged up, so I mean that's not a bad pick there.
I simply think that Brandon Cooks just hasn't been involved, and I think Goff takes a couple deep shots to him this game, and I think they connect.
Yeah, I mean another guy on the waiver wire in our league that I'm looking to pick up is maybe Goff. I don't know. I mean there's like 4 guys still left that I'd be happy with. All right, this next pick is actually kind of an interesting one here. We got Carolina at San Francisco. Now, I don't really know, like...
Is Kyle Allen legit, yes or no?
Yeah, that's my next question. Is like, is Kyle Allen legit, do you think? And then, like, would you bring Cam Newton back? It's like the same thing as Teddy. Do you bring Drew Brees back if Teddy's playing well? Do you bring Cam Newton back when Kyle Allen's playing super well?
Do you think Kyle Allen is playing better right now, or Teddy Bridgewater's playing better?
Teddy is, because he's still putting up those premier stats. He's still making his team.
Okay.
You know what? Fucking scratch that, actually. I take that back. It's Kyle Allen. That team was, like, looking bad. Like, you're like, this team is dog shit. And they're 4-2.
I think Kyle Allen is doing more with less. Obviously, he has CMC. He's amazing. But overall, his team, his defense, I believe...
is worse, yeah.
Is worse. Not by a lot.
I think by a decent amount.
You think so? I don't think by a lot. I think that Saints' offense is better.
By a lot.
By a little.
By a lot.
I don't know. CMC is too good to say by a lot.
You got Kamara.
Hey.
You got Latavius Murray. He's the
GOAT. Okay.
Latavius Murray's the best.
Regardless, I think Kyle Allen is doing more with less overall team standings. And, I mean, you can't take him out as of right now. He continues to win for your team. This is going to be a great test for them against the 49ers on the road. Yeah. So we'll see. But Kyle Allen playing really well.
Yeah. Okay, so my obviously I think the San Francisco 49ers actually go down in this one. I think it's a close game here.
I think it's a very close game.
Yeah, I think it's like a 24-28 win for the Carolina Panthers. I know I hate kickers in my predictions. I don't know why I do it to myself every week. But I do think San Francisco goes down here. I don't think they win this game. My boom is actually none other than CMC. I think he goes fucking ape shit. I think he drops 45 points coming off that bye week. He was banged up before. I think he goes absolutely ape shit. I think he drops 40, 45 points here. Sees the end zone 2 or 3 times. I mean, honestly, I think it's just fantastic. I think they're going to need to with this defense here. With the pressure from Bosa and the D-back play out there in San Francisco has been really good. My secondary boom, I'm picking 2 booms for this game, is none other than my boy Manny Sanders. Now, I'm booming him because Kyle Shanahan just came out today and said Manny Sanders is going to play a lot and see a lot. So I'm picking him as my secondary boom here. I'm only projecting like 15 plus points though.
That's fine.
As your first week with the team, that's a boom. But my bust is actually none other than Tevin Coleman. I don't think he gets to see a whole lot going right away. I do think Breida busts off a couple big ones, and then like I said, I think they have to pass more to kind of stay in this game. It's not a game that they've like been in a lot lately because they've been up. So I'm busting Tevin Coleman, booming CMC, and to add on top of that, so that way you don't just think I'm picking easy ones. I'm booming my boy Manny Sanders on his first week with the team. Next pick here, though, is another interesting game here. We got Oakland Raiders at 3-3 going into Houston versus Texans at 4-3. What do you got here for me?
So first initial thoughts are Houston. I really do like their team, but in a way, I'm not trying to compare them to the Vikings. They can beat anybody in the league on a given week, and in all honesty, they can lose to a team on any given week. I feel like I've seen weeks where they've played very well, and I've seen games where they've played very poorly. So in this game against the Raiders, they're at home. I like Deshaun Watson slinging it all around against that atrocious Raiders secondary. But still, Oakland, maybe a fumble here or there from the Texans. I think they find a way to keep it close, but in the end, I think Houston wins. In a pretty high-scoring game, I'll go 34-20.
There we go. Who's your boom bust?
Boom of the week is going to be none other than DeAndre Hopkins. I need him in the worst way to play well this week. But in all honesty, such a good receiver, top 3 receiver in the NFL, going to absolutely cook that depleted Raiders secondary. My bust of the week is going to be Josh Jacobs. I think that Josh Jacobs is going to get a decent amount of yards in this game, and honestly, but considering it's a high-scoring game, I don't think he finds the end zone. I'm going to go with 80 yards on the ground, no catches.
Yeah, he's the guy who can kind of get game scripted out. We've seen that a couple times this year. Moving on to the next one. It's a nice game here. Hopefully, going into the year, we kind of predicted this game to be a bit bigger of importance than it is. It's a 2-4 Browns at the 7-0. Holy shit. Still pretty good, New England Patriots. Pardon me there. I'm still picking here. I'm picking the Patriots to win here pretty hefty. 35 to 20 points even, I think.
Ouch.
Yeah, the Browns, that's what they are. They're the Browns. The Patriots, they look really good. I'm gonna boom. Oh, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna boom you, boy, Sony.
Quick thought. What do you think about Baker Mayfield in this game? How do you think he plays against that vaunted Patriot
I think he plays
defense?
bad, but I think this is that sophomore slump. I think he's just gotta figure it out. I think I think coming in with the offensive line being absolute dog shit, I think Baker figures it out in the offseason or next year, or maybe towards the end of the year. I think I think he just got to figure it out. I think he's still got all the talent in the world. I still believe in him. But
what do you think his reasoning behind so many interceptions are? Do you think that plays a large part of that offensive
100%
line?
Pressure.
Okay.
That's like we've seen lately. What have we seen with Kirk?
Yep.
He hasn't been pressured. He hasn't been thrown picked.
Yep.
That's how it is with all these quarterbacks. Matt Ryan could tear your fucking team up left and right, but the minute he gets pressure on him and he has to move out of the pocket,
just
that's
not mobile, yeah.
I think that's a big deal here. So, but I'm booming Sony Michel, even though I fucking hate it. I do think Sony Michel is okay. The biggest thing is I think that Sony actually just runs this 2 touchdowns in. He gets the goal line work, which is kind of pathetic.
In all
I don't
honesty,
think he's that talented.
He's very touchdown dependent. There's nothing around that.
Yeah, this year
you can't ignore the fact that they're in scoring position all the time, and he's going to have a very good chance to score every week because it always seems like they're going to be in the red zone.
If they're within 5 yards, it's Sony Michel. If they're outside the 5 yards, it's James White.
Yep.
And I fucking missed my attempt on both those guys. But I'm also going to boom Nick Chubb. I'm going to do a double boom here again. I'm booming Nick Chubb just because I need him to for the Listeners League. So just need him to. We're just going to put hope in our last pick here, most likely. Most likely. It's still most likely. We're not sure. Mike has not texted in yet. But my bust is, like you said, it's going to be Baker. I don't think he throws terrible here. I just think he's under 300 yards. I think he has 1 score and 1 pick.
Quick side note on that, honestly, I don't think Baker plays that bad. I think the game all depends on the first few drives for him. If he can start well, I think it's going to be a very competitive game until the end. But if they go down, 7-0, 10-0, even 14-0, I think you kind of see him revert back to his old ways this year.
I think the biggest thing that they need to do is get a lineman. They're in the market for Trent Williams. I know we didn't talk about that because that's been going on for months now. But I think if they get a lineman, they'll be all right. All right, so we're going to quickly get into this last game on Sunday here. It's Green Bay Packers of the Chiefs. Now, this game looked like it was poised to be an awesome game, but now it has kind of dropped off the map because we got Matt Moore. Matt Moore, we've seen him before. We've seen him in Carolina and stuff. He's not terrible, but he's obviously nothing close to Patrick Mahomes here. Who's your boom bust here, and what's your pick on the Kansas City Packer game?
So this game, obviously, without Mahomes, really stinks. All wanted to see Mahomes against Rodgers. Would have been a great game.
Passing the torch, pretty much.
Yep. But with that being said, I still see this game being pretty close. I don't know. Kansas City at home, Sunday night game. Everybody's going to be riled up for it. But in the end, I think Green Bay is just going to be too much with or without Devontae Adams playing. Looking like he's not going to. But passing all around. I still think Matt Moore does pretty well just considering his weapons that he has around him. They're just too good to not play well. I'm going to go Green Bay 31, Kansas City 24. Boom of the week for me this week is going to be Aaron Jones. Look, I think he's going to get 15 to 20 touches roughly. I think he's going to get the ball a decent amount. And I think on screen passes out of the backfield, he's going to absolutely torch this Kansas City defense. He's going to have around 140 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. My bust of the week is actually going to be Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I'm going against him. So that helps me. But he's he's not deep play dependent, but I think with Matt Moore, I don't think he's going to get as much work as he should because I think he's going to rely on little bit more of the running game and a lot more of Travis Kelce in the underneath routes, and I don't really see that happening for him this week. He'll have 4 for 40, just like Julio. He's too good not to completely bust, but he'll have somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm picking Green Bay here, and a little bit more of a blowout than what I would have wanted to see. I'm seeing a good 31 to 24 with the Chiefs here. Yeah, I think it's just going to be kind of a ugly game. I do think the Chiefs kind of get it going at the end there. I am actually going to boom the opposite running back. I'm booming Jamal Williams.
Okay.
I think Jamal gets on the ground running better, and I think I'm going to bust. I'm going to bust Rodgers this week. Like I said, I think they're on the ground a little bit more this week. I think Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams both have a good week. I think Jamal, for what you expect out of him, I think he does better than Aaron Jones. Again, I think he sees the end zone more.
I think regardless of what, obviously you picked Williams, I picked Jones. Those running backs out of the backfield against those Kansas City linebackers, I think are an absolute mismatch, and I think Rodgers goes to them quite often.
Yeah, I think they just are on the ground all the time. So, moving to the last game of the week, it's the Monday night game. It's a stellar one. We got the 0-6 Miami Dolphins versus the 2-4 Pittsburgh Steelers here. Now, I think this is kind of an ugly game. I think Miami actually takes this one in a sad way. I don't know why they would want to win, but I think they are going to win this one. I think Fitzmagic kind of puts on a decent show. I think we see a little bit out of Devontae Parker. I think we see Walton kind of go off a little bit. I think we start to see Walton kind of solidify his starting, in quotes, I guess, job there. But I do think we see Pittsburgh kind of pick it up here. I do think Pittsburgh loses, though, like I said. I think it's kind of a shit game. I'm picking 17-14 in favor of Miami. I just think that the Miami defense, is dog shit, but I just don't think that the Pittsburgh offense is that great. With me saying that, I think I'm actually going to bust Connor. Sorry. I know you picked him for the Listener League. But I'm busting Connor. I don't think he really gets going again. I think they lean more on passing, so I'm hoping Juju does well. I'm actually going to boom Devontae Parker this week. I do think Parker starts to see the ball a little bit more. The only thing that kind of scares me is that the Pittsburgh's defense isn't bad, but I think Fitzmagic has to kind of get it going there. So, like I said, 17-14 in favor of Miami getting their first win in primetime Monday. So that wraps up our matchups for the week, NFL matchups. Now we're going to get quickly into our league matchups here. So when we go through this poll, we'll just go through top to bottom here, leaving your matchup last. And
okay.
That's our matchup of the week. We'll start with mine. I'll go here. It's me versus Doc. It's the battle of the host here. So obviously last night he had Diggs and Cousins play. They didn't really do super well together. Diggs played fantastic at 19.3. Cousins not so great at 11.6. Now that's solid, I guess. But 30 from your wide receiver one, or all wide receiver, and your quarterback, that's beatable, I guess. I'm picking myself in this matchup, actually. I do really like my outlook for the week. I'll pick myself 115 to 112 in favor of myself. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, so I see this game, depending on who Johnny ends up picking up at quarterback, it doesn't really matter. I think they're all going to be around, I'll say 17, 18 points, maybe a little bit more depending on who he gets. But I consider this game being pretty close, but in the end, I like Johnny in this game. I just don't like Montgomery whatsoever. I don't really like Ridley just because I don't like that entire Atlanta team. I think Johnny takes this 115 to around 105.
All right. Moving to the next game here, it's the Commish versus Minshew Magic. A little bit of old college rivalry here. Let me start with this one.
Yeah, so in all honesty, I'm not 100% sure what to think about this game. Potop calling bottom, not playing well as of late. Minshew Magic keeps finding ways to win, regardless of who he has on that starting lineup. Just looking over at it, I think Potop calling bottom, though, just has too much talent on his team. He has Godwin back this week. I think Ertz finally figures it out this week. He has Latavius Murray, who's going to get his points regardless now of if Kamara plays or not. I think he's too much. I think he takes this 115 to 105.
Yeah, and I like that pick, actually. It sucks seeing Joe Mixon in there, but he's playing against Kenyon Drake across the board here, so, Joe Mixon's going to play better than Drake, let's hope, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. I'm picking Potop calling bottom here. I do think he needs to throw in Sanu over Lat, or maybe move Lat in front of Joe and take Joe out. Joe Mixon, that is. I do think Sanu should see your lineup. I guess it depends on if there's reports. If he's not going to play, then I guess it's a good bench. But I'm picking Potop calling bottom, the Commish, with a score of 125 to Minshew Magic 105.
Yeah, just a quick point to end this as well. Now that I'm looking at Minshew Magic's team, I do still think he's going to lose because he has Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore in his lineup. But looking at his pass catchers, I really like them a lot.
They're solid.
Between Sutton, Edelman, Austin Hooper, and John Brown, I think all four of them do end up having a pretty decent day for him, and that's where the vast majority of his points are going to come from. But I still don't think his running backs are going to produce enough in order to get a win.
Yeah, that's just hard to do, I guess, here. But all right, moving on to the next one. It's the recycling bin. Aaron Primer versus Schrute Farms and Mike Dopp here. I'll take this one to start. I did bust Tevin Coleman, but I do think he has a solid game, I guess. I don't think he's really that amazing, but I think Breida outshines him here, and Breida's across the board here, so that hurts. He does have Chase Edmonds in, which I think is actually a good play. I don't think DJ plays much at all, if at all. Julio, you said you busted him. I do like his team overall, though. I'm taking recycling bin here. In kind of a close game, actually. I know that we only saw 5 out of Irv, but I do think that the Packer boys kind of pick it up, and like you said, Cooks gets going. I do pick 130 to 117.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this matchup, I do really like Brandon Cooks a lot. I had him as a boom earlier, but the fact that he's not going to have Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper is just too much to overcome in this game. Aaron Recycling Bin just has too powerful of a team in order to overcome that. I like Recycling Bin 135 to Schrute Farms 120.
Yeah, nice. So next one here, it's I don't even know how to put it. We got Ty's 10, who's kind of abysmal this year, versus Team Tracks, who is winning, and honestly probably shouldn't be. He's not very high in scoring. He's in our division, which sucks too. Who do you got here?
Honestly, the more I look at this team, I really do not know how Team Tracks is 4-3. And I know Todd has been very bad for Ty's 10. I know he's had a couple of bad weeks, but overall, I really like his team. He needs, if Matt Ryan doesn't play, obviously he's going to get a different quarterback in. But CMC, DJ Chark, Allen Robinson, Marlon Mack, those are very respectable fantasy guys. I like Ty's 10 to pull out his second win of the year in this one. I like 122 to Team Tracks 106. I feel like every week I see Team Tracks' score, and he's right around 100 points, 110 points. So if somebody can score over that 110 margin, I think they can get a win. Now, it hasn't happened up until this point, which is why he has 4 wins, but I like Ty winning this one.
Yeah, Tracks had a good week last week. I think he dropped like a 130, so that was probably his best week of the year. But moving in, I do like Ty's 10 team better. I kind of hope for Atlanta's sake that Matt Ryan plays, and I think he's healthy. Marlon Mack, I boomed him earlier. I was looking at his stuff earlier because I was maybe going to send a trade out to Ty for him. Marlon Mack has been so up and down, so let's hope he has a good week this week. Not that I hate Trax's team, but I just don't think they have enough this week. I think it's like a 135 and Ty's 10. I think they all kind of click this week to like a 106 Team Trax. Now this next one is kind of just it's a weird one to pick because Downs was the number one team coming out of week 1, and then Rick was, kind of hated on. I like Rick's team a hell of a lot more now than I did before. I do like to pick up with Stafford this week. I do think I'm going to pick him this week. Look for the running backs just to kind of pop off. I mean, he's got 3 solid running backs in Chubb, Carson, and Connor. It's awesome. That's what I dreamed of having when I had my team earlier this year. It didn't work out as well, I guess. But I'm picking Rick Rangers 138 to touchdowns 107. Just because I don't think they figure it out this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't have much to say else about this matchup. I really enjoy Eric's team. I've said it since the beginning. Those 3 running backs are very good. Keenan Allen and Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been okay, not nearly as good as he's been last year. But Keenan Allen, he's going to pick it up sometime soon. He is a very well-rounded team with Waller. I know Dak is on a bye. It's not really going to matter. Touchdowns, Le'Veon Bell has underperformed his value from what he drafted him as. Tyrell Williams, still beat up. Tyler Boyd in that Cincinnati offense, no good to me. Just too much. Rick Rangers, 135, touchdowns, 110.
Perfect. Yeah. That's that. I don't know. It's a weird matchup here. So now getting into our last matchup of the night, it is our matchup of the week. Believe it or not, with a 2-5 team in it and the number 1 team in the league. We do have Sniffers Row, my co-host team, or my guest team, sorry, and the number 1 team in the league, the Galladay season. I do like this matchup. I'll start here so you can kind of get the final word on your team here.
Yep.
I don't know how I like this matchup. The only thing I'm concerned about is that with Josh Allen versus Philly, it's hit or miss, but he's also one of those guys who you could see not throw the ball super well. Overall, though, your running backs are just way better. You have Dalvin Cook with already a 28 spot. Fournette's good, but I don't think he's that good. James White, I think he does do better than Philip Lindsay this week, so I think he has a slight advantage at running back 2 here. Your wide receivers are just much better than his, though. I'll take Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins over Terry McLaurin and Kenny Galladay, 25 times out of 2. Terry McLaurin did not play very well either. He had 8 points, which is solid, I guess. Not really, actually, I guess. I forgot this was PPR for a second there. You don't have a tight end, so when we decide to make finally make a deal for Everett, it'll be nice for you to get a top 10 tight end here. Travis Kelce's been underperforming for him. Obviously he's getting 13, 14 points a week, but we're used to him getting the 18 points. We've been saying that for all along, and I don't think it gets much better. This week I do think he actually gets maybe a 20 spot, but I don't think overall in the year. I think he's kind of going to have a more down year, which is still crazy to say it's a down year as a tight end 3. The flex spot is where it gets interesting, though. I do think Sony Michel kind of pounds the ball in a couple times. I don't think Tyreek Hill really gets going this week with with the quarterback change. I am gonna go in favor of Sniffers Row going 3-0 in the past 3 weeks win streak. I hate it. He's in my division, but it's okay. He's still in 4th, and I'm still in 1st. Still spotted me 5 wins this year. It's okay, or 4 more wins. I think it's actually kind of a bit of a blowout. I'm gonna go 140. Is that a year high for you?
It's close.
I'm gonna go 140 for you. 115 for Galladay's season. Just don't think that he has the juice this week. That's kind of a funny joke because we got that trade vetoed.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at this matchup, it's going to be really close. I think it's a 5-point game either way.
Ooh.
I think that the biggest keys to this matchup is how is Kansas City going to do without Patrick Mahomes. Obviously Kelsey, obviously Hill, 2 good of players to not play well. But I think they just underperform to what they normally would. Obviously with Mahomes, I still think they put up points. And the other thing is, with the New England running backs, is it going to be a James White game? Is Sony Michel going to find the end zone? I don't know. That's what it's going to come down to. With that being said, though, I like Sniffers Row. I like myself pulling out a win some way, somehow. Get those 3 wins, 135 to 130.
Yeah, so, that's not a bad pick. I do think Ben's team is very good. Obviously, he's the number 1 team in the league. But it's just scary with how things are panning out for this week. So next is we're gonna add a little. That's the end of the usual scoop here. This week, this episode is going to go a little bit longer because I want to add something called King's Corner here. Since we do have a guest on, I do want to do it. We're going to talk about, it's a manager's thoughts here. So first off, let's just go ahead and get your thoughts on your team. What's going on with your team? Where do you think you're going to be and all that stuff? So what do you think here?
I mean, everybody knows, started the year winless, 0-5, just in a very dark place. Got a little unfortunate multiple weeks, partly because of me not starting Philip Lindsay. So that's bad. That's a bad manager.
Now you might get the
position.
same thing for starting Philip Lindsay.
Yep. And now, I mean, obviously back-to-back wins. A win against Connor, very big for me at the time. He was a very good team. Beating Mike last week was big for me. Put up a decent amount of points. This is going to be a really big test for me this week. Obviously, Ben, number 1 record in the league. He is just a very good team all around, so we'll see after that.
You know what's crazy is if you beat him this week and I win, Ben goes from number 1 to number 3 by default because I have beat him.
Yep.
With the same record, and I'll go to 2 because if Primer wins, I'll be tied with Primer.
Yeah, so very big matchup for me for all aspects of the league. Myself,
Very big matchup for the league. We need Ben to start getting kind of chopped down.
Yep. Need a big win out of me. I would say the best manager of the year so far, I would have to say, is Aaron Primer. I mean, going out of the draft, I didn't really know what to think about his team because obviously putting all your eggs into that basket of DJ, Michael Thomas, and Julio, it's a good idea because you know how good of players they are, but maybe if one of them gets hurt,
like
you know,
DJ is right now.
Yeah, like DJ is. I mean, but overall, the way his roster is constructed of, you know, Russell Wilson, I mean, Mark Andrews has played out of his mind this year. A lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. Overall, just a very good team. So props to him.
Yeah, I think it's nice that he went and picked up Goddard, too, for the week. Going back to your team, though, so what do you think your MVP of the year is so far, then, for your team?
The MVP of the year for my team so far has to be Dalvin Cook. I mean, I spent $45 on him, let's just say $45-50. Right now, he's currently the number 2 running back in fantasy. Just very steady production for me all year. And I mean, he's been my workhorse through the thick and through the thin. I mean, I can count on him for getting honestly 20 points a week for me at least.
Yeah, and then moving into that, so what do you think? What do you think the low point? What do you think the worst pick of your team was this year?
Let's see.
Or maybe
honestly,
the worst move, I guess.
Yeah. So as far as my moves go, I don't think I have been trading a lot recently. I did upgrade Julian Edelman or I should say Keenan Allen to DeAndre Hopkins. I went from Allen and Edelman to Evans and Hopkins. I do think that's a slight improvement. And my running back, honestly, I went from James Conner to Sony Michel, it looks like. So, I mean, that's a step sideways, step down. But, I mean, overall, I honestly think my team has gotten a little bit better through the trades. Not a whole lot. But, I mean, between...
But you're hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hot. But between O.J. Howard and Ben Roethlisberger, those are honestly the 2 key reasons why I lost all those games right away, so that was brutal for me.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you need a tight end still. I know we keep bringing it up, so just let me know when you finally want to move.
You know, something. I do need a tight end. It's really hard without it, but I mean, I haven't had a tight end all year, and I've been losing, and now I've been winning without one regardless. So I mean, I haven't really thought of that as like a focal point. That could push me over the top to keep winning, but I've just been riding it out without one. So
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The 2 weeks that I lost this year, not saying I would have won if that would have happened, but were the 2 worst weeks by far by my tight ends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I had an egg pretty much thrown up on my face by Engram, and then I also had a week where Everett put up 2.3 points for me. So moving in, so now which team do you want to talk about? Now we have time to talk about one team here. So which team would you want to talk about here?
I would like to talk about Schrute Farms.
All right, so let's get into it. So, what do you think? You know, I mean, Schrute had a lot of backing, a lot of support from different podcasts, from what I've heard. And the league overall kind of put him up there. You even put him up there for one of the more in the power rankings here.
Yep.
What do you think is going wrong or going right with this team? I guess.
Yeah, so Schrute Farms right now, obviously sitting at 3-4. Looking at his team, I honestly think that when it's at full power, obviously we know injuries happen. We can't do anything about that. But Cooks, who has underperformed, I do think he's going to start playing better now. But between Cooks, Cooper, and Devontae Adams, I mean, those are 3 amazing receivers. Aaron Jones, he bid about, I want to say $30-ish around there. So he put a decent amount of money on Aaron Jones, and he has performed. The number 4 ranked running back playing very well for him. Matt Breida now with Tevin Coleman back is going to hurt him, but that running offense is very good. He's still going to get his carries. And overall, I mean, I think at the end of the year, he's going to be looking, I don't know if he's a playoff team, fringe playoff team, but he's definitely going to be fighting for a spot.
Yeah, me looking at this team, I don't know if I like it. I mean, obviously, you got to love the thought of Cooper and Adams, but Cooper's been the only one here. Adams has been, even when he was healthy, he was getting 15 points a game, and that's because he had a big 30-point game. That helps out a lot. I mean, he's only played 4 games. I know talking to the manager and stuff, I've been trying to pick him up. We are two different sides here, but I mean, he's got 2 weeks under 10. That hurts for a premium receiver.
Yep, that's not good.
I mean, he had that 30-point week and then another 17-point week. That's awesome and all, but other than that, outside of that, I hate Aaron Jones. I've always been a thing of that. I don't think he's super good. I think the big game that he had, that big game he had just carried him.
Yep.
I mean, he had 40 points at it? 50 points? Holy fuck. He had 50 points in a game and 25 in another, all because he's getting touchdowns. I don't know. He's a good goal line back. He's good at punching in. Overall, I don't think he's super great. And I do think he starts to see his role diminish. I know his big games, his 3 games in a row that he had that were huge, came because Jamal Williams was hurt, so I think he'll see that lose, just like you said with Breida. Breida's so hit or miss. I mean, I don't know really what I like about Breida. I mean, I love Breida as a player, but he doesn't get the touches. If he was a premier back, I would be all in on him. Overall, I mean, I think this team has got what it takes to kind of be a playoff team. I mean, tight end's very weak. He's got Witten or Irv Smith. I mean, that wide receiver spot, I mean, you got one. Cooks has been really kind of bad. Wide receiver 30 for what you gave up for him. That's steep. I mean,
I think with this team, he has a lot of marquee names, especially in his receiver position, that just frankly haven't played well regardless of injury or just underperforming. But from the outside looking in with those names, I think his team should be better. But as of right now, it just isn't performing as well as it should.
Yeah, and I know the biggest knock on my team right now is that I don't have that wide receiver 1. I have 4 guys who could fit into that wide receiver 2 category, flex category, but I don't have a wide receiver 1. And this is almost what I see here is that I see Aaron Jones, yes, he's a running back 1. I don't like that he can have 40 or 50 points one week and 5 points the next. I don't know if I want that to be my running back 1. He doesn't really have, other than that, he's got Cooper. And he's got Cooper and Rodgers. Those are the only 2 guys on this team that have been super consistent. And even then, Rodgers kind of started the year kind of bad. I mean, he's only, quarterback 7 this year. Other than that, this team has been kind of scraping by. But this team, he's got the guys who could figure it out and be good. Like I said, the biggest knock on here, I know this is not, though you don't have to move him to me, but I think he has to move a Devontae Adams. While he's still got value, he's probably not going to play this week. That's 4 weeks in a row.
Yep.
4 weeks in a row, and then a guy who's been under, I mean, yeah, you can say that he said that they played tough competition, but, I mean, Devontae Adams was known for that consistency versus anybody. He was going to get 80 yards and a touchdown versus you, regardless of who you were.
Yep.
I think at this point, I think he needs to make a couple moves. The moves he has made didn't really pay off. I tried to buy Juju off him early in the season, and he didn't want to do it, and then I ended up getting Juju for James White, and we talked about it today. He said he wanted to do. He said I would have done James White for Juju at this point. Yeah, I mean if he would have had that wide receiver or running back 2, I mean James White's an RB2 and getting 13 points a week. That's solid. I mean that's what this team is missing. I think almost exclusively is just a guy who consistency. I mean this team is so hit or miss. I mean. What's a move here that you would think that this team would need to make to kind of, even like you said, they're a fringe playoff team.
Yep, I agree. I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't think you can move Adams strictly based on the fact that he, 1, is injured right now. So you can sell him for a little bit lower, but let's say he takes 1 or 2 more weeks to come back. You're just going to bank on him to play really, really well, capable of what Adams is able to do, and just go with that.
Yeah, but this team was 3-2, and now there's 3-4.
I agree, but I mean, even with back-to-back losses, he's had a lot of wide receivers beat up. I mean, at this point, I just don't see him trading anybody based on the fact that he just likes his team. And he's going to ride those injuries out regardless, and he's just going to ride those players out.
I mean, you also got to think, though, he's also that Amari Cooper, Aaron Jones 100-point performance combined away from being 2-5 at this point. And I know your team's on the upswing, and you're literally almost mathematically eliminated.
Yep.
A couple more losses and you're out. I mean, your team's got a lot of hope here, but I mean, this is like the pendulum swing. That's where I think like you're right. You're not going to get what you want out of some of your players if he moves Aaron Jones or Adams. I mean, they're all Packer players, but if you move a Cooks or something, you're not going to get what they're valued at. But you need something else right now. You need to get one or two guys. You need to get a consistent guy for one of these boom bust kind of guys.
And with the trade deadline being
it's November 22nd.
Okay.
I looked it up 10:20 or 11:22.
Okay.
I was almost people were trying to bait me into getting trades because they thought it was this week, and I was very confident that it wasn't.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, with that being said, he has time. So we'll see how it plays out, maybe once Adams gets back from injury. But if he gets back from injury, he plays him 1 week, he plays really well, he's not moving him. So
yeah, but that's the thing though, is like can you afford to wait? That's the big question here. I mean, in his division here, he's not going to win it most likely behind Galladay's season, who's got a really powerful team. But he's got Minshew Magic right above him. I mean, we're playing in, what do you got, 3 wild card spots? Yep. So
division
if it were to end right now, it's going to be... I honestly think the division winner is me, Aaron, and Ben. And then the people getting in is going to be Connor. I think you can get in with a wild card spot. I think you have the best hope, I guess, out of... It's you or Rick.
Yep.
It's you or Rick.
At this point
in time... And it could be both you.
Yeah. I would enjoy myself making the playoffs, but at this point in time, even before this week, regardless win or loss, I like Rick Rangers moving forward more than I do even.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I think it's you or Rick, or maybe both. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think Minshew Magic falls off. We kind of saw that he was winning games that statistically that he shouldn't be winning, and
I personally think that these wild card spots are absolutely wide open to this point because I personally think teams like Rick Rangers and I, both below 500, we are looking a lot better than teams like Potop calling bottom right now, Team Tracks, Minshew Magic. I mean, I know those teams all have 4 wins. But those teams, I think, are playing much worse than teams like, myself and Rick Rangers. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this shapes out.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to. But what do you think about the divisional winners here? Do you think?
I mean, I personally think that every division right now is already over. I think that you at 5-2. I mean, can Rick Rangers close out on you personally? I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. But with these other 2 divisions, I mean, I think that Recycling Bin and Galladay season, they don't have their divisions locked up, but in all honesty, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with this league this year. Like, I mean, before we've seen some really highs and lows in our league, but now we only have one really kind of bad team, and even then, like we said, the talent's there on that team with Ties 10. I mean, they're the one bad team, but the only thing that sucks for them is that they're in a division where they're already 4 games behind.
They don't. Ties 10 doesn't have a bad team, just has a bad record. I think there's a little it's not a bad team.
The way that team is constructed hurts. I mean, you want to talk and say like, oh, it hurts, having Gurley at $50. I lost Antonio Brown at $44 and got 1 week out of it.
But I'm saying that division is over because Recycling Bin is going to clean up. I don't like
that division's over because
right now.
Well, that division's over because
doesn't have a chance. Ties 10 doesn't have a chance. But I think the East is over as well. I think Galladay's season, Minshew Magic, in my opinion, doesn't have a chance. No. I mean, Schrute Farms and Drogan's, neither of them have a chance, regardless of if they have 4 and 3 wins. I mean, they're only a game, 2 games back. Minshew is, but I mean, the way the season's going to end, it's not looking good for the other teams.
I agree with you 100% that the West is sealed up. Regardless, I think touchdowns and Ties 10 are completely out for even getting a chance at the division because it's either the commish or it's Primer.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to make that big of a swing that they're going to.
And I mean, in all honesty, just from what I've been hearing, you're higher on Connor's team than I am. So if you think he has a chance, that's totally fine. But I think those 2 divisions between Galladay season and Recycling Bin are locked up at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think I meant saying that like there's no way you might eclipse Connor, but there's no way you're gonna eclipse Connor and Eric or Aaron at this point.
Yep, so I agree.
That'll wrap it up for this week's King Corner. I know that this podcast went a little bit longer, but I think I'm gonna add this segment separate from the scoop here, King's Corner, where I'm just gonna call one of the guys from the league, get their opinion on their team. We're gonna pick apart one team and talk about the other divisions here. That'll be something separate from this podcast. But it'll be something interesting, so I just want to introduce it this week. Thanks for listening. I know this one went a little bit longer. We don't have to listen to this end segment next time. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.